session 294 in the AICT.com reading group. Tonight we'll be discussing the article Practices for Governing Agentic AI Systems by Miles Brundage and others. This is a research paper by OpenAI with the three lead authors being Leonard Shalit, Shadini Agarwal, and Miles Brundage. There are a number of other authors listed. This is a recently new paper from the 14th of December. And the reason why we choose this was last time when we were discussing the general trends in AI safety, I made a claim that a number of people pushed back quite a bit on. And that is the following claim. Most current alignment research made no attempts at scaling to hold up to adversarial superintelligence. And that's, of course, a difficult, a very qualitative statement. And one of the ways that I thought would be interesting to explore this claim would be to look at some mostly random alignment research and see, is this actually something that has any hope of scaling to hold up to adversarial superintelligence? So let's see if that turns out to be true. I did make another claim on what is AI alignment and what is AI safety. This is a paper that's published in Safety and Alignment, but is it really safety or AI safety or AI alignment? I made the claim last time that AI alignment used to be something that was contrasted with AI capability, and the term is now been flipped, and I was accusing OpenAI of conflating the two terms. That might not be entirely true. In this paper, they're using the term user alignment instead of just alignment. So it's not really that obvious that they are they're not flipping them 180 degrees. It's still closer to alignment than to capability. In my mind, the propensity of an AI model to follow the goals specified by a user is mostly almost exclusively AI capability. But I mean, this is evidence against my second claim. I do still think they often use alignment to mean something, also without qualification, and to mean something closer to what I call AI capability. But there is some mere cover here. But also, this is less important to me than the question of, is this some research that tries to increase AI existential safety? Let's start with the definition of agenticness. It's defined as the degree to which a system can adaptively achieve complex goals in complex environments with limited direct supervision. And one thing that the authors don't notice, but that I did notice, is that this is basically the same definition that Shane Leck uses in his work together with Marcus Potter, and then they just tacked on limited direct supervision. Otherwise, this is basically just the definition that agenticness is intelligence and limited supervision. Whether that is actually a good definition or a true definition, or that this captures the kind of things that we care about, is another question. I'm not entirely convinced. When I think of agenticness, I think perhaps of something that it makes sense for us to model its action as if it was an agent, but that's of course somewhat a circular definition. I'll also notice that the definition of agenticness they use here is one that is strictly opposed to the safety story that Nora Belrose uses, where the lack of goal directedness is an important part of why we should expect these AIs to be safe. One thing that is absent from this is instrumental subgoals, or basically any other reference to Bostrom's work or to the standard works in AI safety. Because one thing an agent might do is to try to obtain more resources, and that's something that is really absent from this. I think it is fair to say that this is some research that is quite far from classic AI safety. Perhaps you could see that in the way that it basically doesn't refer in the long literature list. I think there is one there is a reference to human compatible, and otherwise there is no trace of classic AI safety in this. Another part of the preliminaries that I thought was interesting was if you have an AI agent, what are the human parties that are relevant to the AI life cycle? And Miles Brundage and the others find 5 parts. There's the model developer, the system developer, the user, and perhaps also the compute provider and some kind of third parties. But the interesting thing that is kind of missing to my in my view is society broadly, because it seems like a this kind of course, we care a lot about what happens in society, and we care, in particular for AI safety, we care about loss of control. And I just think that if you're doing what is in fact some kind of AI governance paper, then not including government agencies or just totally disregarding that seems like a really strange omission, because a lot of AI governance seem to like put some potential role for governance. Okay, so what are the benefits? Again, there are a number of benefits that are being described for why we are probably going to have agents. I won't go through them here. There's also no discussion of whether it's possible to get the same benefits in other ways. One claim in the introduction that I felt was kind of telling was the idea that the impact of agenticness may be closely related to the impact of AI more generally. And I think probably if you think about something like the AI, like arranging a trip to Hawaii for you, an agent doing that, then I think that is quite reasonable, or an agent helping you code something. But when I think about AI and the impact, I think mostly in strategic terms. Something like AlphaFold would be an example. This is some AI that I believe could have a substantial impact. And of course, with AI safety, it could also be very important. Like AIs that are, inventing new stuff, for instance, would be an example. And in that case, whether like AlphaFold doesn't need to be an agent, that has nothing to do with agents. So I think there's an argument to be made from this and from the examples that they don't really think in strategic terms. Another thought that I thought was interesting was the idea, the claim that general purpose technology has often harmed less powerful groups, which is a true statement, of course, but it's not really the statement that we care about. If we're drawing historic parallels, then general purpose technologies have often made new powerful groups, and that is something that should make the current powerful groups, humans, potentially nervous about this technology. Okay, that was just the introduction. What are the actual practices for keeping agentic AI systems safe and accountable? And we are only looking at the first part, the keeping the AI systems safe. So that means that there are there are a number of things that this paper talks about that we won't look at. So the first is it in fact a good idea to use an AI agent? Like you have a lot of nuclear weapons. Should you turn and give the control of your nuclear weapons to an AI agent? Is that in fact a good idea? How do you figure that out? And the answers from the authors is that the only way to do that basically is to try and see what happens. Try to give it the AI, and like that isn't really how alignment is supposed to work, right? This is just giving up before trying to solve the problem. Um, okay, so another potential option for policies for AI agents is to constrain the things they can do, like putting them in a box. Would we expect that it's possible to put a super intelligence in a box? And the authors are very skeptical on this. They say that seems like something that's eventually going to fail as intelligence increases, and like we don't know how to do that at all, basically. Um, and the thing that is missing at this point is some kind of practice. And the title of this paper kind of promised that there would be practices for governing these AI agents. And there is basically nothing. They're saying, yeah, we can't do anything. And I think the authors ought to either punctual practice, and if they can't punctual practice, then they should make it very clear that they don't know how to put an AI in a box, and they think this is just not a thing we can do. There's some more about setting against default behavior. It doesn't have anything to do with alignment, so I'm skipping that. There is some about figuring out what is the AI actually doing. Like you can do chain of thought prompting, but as the authors know, that doesn't really work or has a number of problems. You may be able to like do mechanistic interpretability to figure out like what is the AI actually thinking about, but that's a very nasty field. And well, that's basically all there is. There is some more things that are clearly relevant to AIs that are subhuman in intelligence, but for AI safety, this part of the paper doesn't really have anything. Then there's the idea of automatic monitoring, like having AIs watch AIs. And this is a proposal and comes with some cost and can be a double-edged sword. They have a number of examples of potential problems with automatic monitoring. None of them really seem to be that relevant to AI safety. And in particular, one of the things they don't ask is the obvious question, which is like, if you have one unaligned AI monitoring another unaligned AI, these two might conspire against you. And they do have like they do have almost like a policy proposal. We should investigate methods to do this better. So basically, further research is needed to find policies for governing AIs in this way, but they don't have any concrete ideas for policies. Attributability, like figuring out the causal chain of things that happens based on this AI. I think this is something that could be relevant to AI safety, but the things the authors are suggesting are like the easy things that work at the subhuman level. So there isn't anything there that's relevant to AI safety. How about in being able to press a stop button? That has something to do with AI safety. And that is, in fact, true. And the authors suggest that the people who deploy the systems should be sure that there is a way to always shut down the AI in some graceful way. This is what is in the literature known as the stop button problem. And it would be nice to have some kind of reference to that, and also note that this is an unsolved problem. And Miles Brunton suggests that shut down gracefully when requested by the user should be the primary goal. And that seems to me like that's the first thing you would try if you want to solve the stop button problem. See if that works. And of course, it's well known that it doesn't work. And I'm somewhat it seems plausible that the authors really haven't seen the existing research. They're of course also not citing the existing research. They have another suggestion. The system deployer and the data center should also bear some responsibility for the acts that the AI takes. Now, you could ask why not the model developer, and like that's OpenAI, and I guess since this is an OpenAI research paper, I can perhaps guess why they don't suggest that OpenAI should bear responsibility, but they think this kind of responsibility could make sense because that will make the AI developers develop strong methods of control, and that would make the worst case scenario less likely. And I think this does in fact count as a contribution towards solving the problem. This is a policy proposal that would help with AI safety. Okay, so how about the indirect impacts from agentic AI system? I like this picture here of the US and China fighting against each other, and then a robot handstand stabbing the two. And that's like a symbol for these adoption races where some existing conflicts, AI adoption becomes a strategic parameter, and that could cause like safety to be disregarded. And the authors note that, yeah, this is actually a big problem. This could, in fact, prove catastrophic. And what you would hope to have there is some kind of policy proposal that could prevent this. And there are, of course, policy proposals that can prevent this, but the authors don't discuss them and they don't think about this. And they just basically say, yeah, this is a big problem and this could kill us all, and then nothing. There's the problem that like all of us may be out of a job, and that could be a problem. And this is, of course, a problem, but the problem is it's sad for the people who lose their job, and it's a strategic problem if humanity are no longer like economically able to contribute. But this kind of strategic implications are just not made mention in this paper. Another classic problem is the offense-defense balance, and if that shifts, then there could be because of AI agents, that could be very problematic to say the least. And Miles Brunner says that actors should pay close attention to this. Is that a policy proposal? I think this doesn't count as a policy proposal in my mind, even though you could, in theory, argue that it is. Now there's an AI safety issue called algorithmic monoculture. If you have a lot of AI systems that are using similar algorithms and similar data, or like it's literally ChatGPT like running in multiple instances, then you could expect that they would malfunction in similar ways. And if they're agentic, then you could see something like deliberate propagation of certain and that seems like potentially really, really bad. And I agree, they are pointing to a real AI safety problem here. Their suggestion: create visibility and monitoring in the agentic AI ecosystem. And that's like a very weak and very unrelated policy suggestion that's not going to like do anything with the problem where suddenly all the AIs fail at the same time. Like this kind of monitoring would not catch that, most likely. Okay, so to my original claim, this doesn't really try to scale to adversarial superintelligence. Um, I think the authors could very reasonably claim that I am being unfair. I'm holding the paper to a standard that it doesn't try to meet. And I think that is very true. I think in that case, the paper should make this very clear. And I also think that to a large extent, uh, uh, policy for AIs that are less intelligent than humans are just not really that interesting. I think they should write about the much more interesting thing about what kind of policy would work against like adversarial superintelligence. There is also the possibility that the authors like try to suggest that these policies could work for more capable AI. If that is the intent of the authors, then they fall really short of that goal. There is a thing called the security mindset where you need to like model an adversary, and when you have a policy proposal, you would think, okay, how would an adversary try to get around this? And they don't do that at all. They all the examples that they have seem to be drawn from examples of either human level or subhuman level. There are uh, there are perhaps a few places where they kind of seem like they're worrying that in the future AI could become more capable, but most of the paper seems like they don't care about that at all. And there is one policy proposal that I judge as something that could have an impact. The rest, I think, is worthless from an AI safety perspective, unfortunately. And they don't highlight that. They don't. It's just one of many. And I think that seems to me to imply that the authors didn't really think about adversarial superintelligence when they wrote this. So why does that matter? Well, I'm not sure it matters that much, but the theory behind why this could matter is you can imagine like a motivated pyramid or scale or something like that, where you have some actual research, which is the meat of the paper, that say they don't actually have any policy proposals. They just have some questions some open questions on how to design policy, and they don't really have any kind of answer. So this is like a very defensible thing. This is what is actually written. But when you go to the introductory text, they become more circumspect in this negative research. They say that yeah, there are both benefits and risks, and in the abstracts they are even more optimistic. So it's likely to be useful. We just need to integrate them responsibly into the society. And if you go further to the OpenAI's website, it seems very clear that they say that they care very much about safety. And it seems like some Altman is telling the government that the OpenAI is in fact safe. And I think there is this kind of disconnect between the very true things they're writing in the research and the claim that is being made that they believe that we are on a safe course. And I think it would be morally prudent of Miles Brundage and the others to flip this around and put the actual problems very prominently and rename the paper Unanswered Questions in Governing Agentic AI Systems. Because I think that's what it is basically. That we have no idea about how to govern strong unaligned superintelligence. So you could ask the question like, is it at all possible to design a policy that stands up to adversarial superintelligence? And I believe it is. And here is an example from Nature of Michael Cohen. This is very recently published. That is in fact trying to do the right thing, trying to make alignment that stands up towards adversarial superintelligence. So I strongly believe that this is in fact possible, and this is a counterexample. So thank you. So this is a counterexample for my claim that most alignment research, like there is some alignment research that tries to scale. Okay, that's all. Thank you. and see you next time.